I said in the introduction, fatherless. I looked at you to make sure I was okay if I said that, because I read in your bio that you were 16 years old when your dad left and said, all right, Sheffield, you're in charge of your mother and 2 sisters. Is that true?
Pretty well, except he didn't say anything. He just left. And yes, it was true.
You want to borrow my couch to lie down on?
No.
Are you over it?
No, it didn't bother me. I mean, it was part of life, and actually it made our lives better. Sad and ashamed that it had to happen that way. He was an itinerant worker, so we never really had
a what?
An itinerant worker.
What's that mean?
He drove, in his case, he drove a bulldozer. But he had to go from place to place to get work. He never had a steady job. So it was really just kind of tough all the time that he was with our family. So we actually had hit a point in life and fared better once he decided to take off and leave us. And I hate to say that, but that's just the way it occurred, and it turned out for the better.
Did you ever see him again?
Never saw him again till the day of his funeral. That was it.
Oh, you went to his funeral?
I did.
How old was he when he died?
He had to be about 64, 65.
Well, he did pretty good.
Yeah.
So without all of that strife, do you think you'd be the person you are kind of today?
I really don't. I think being extremely poor and growing up in the Delta was a good combination to help me grow and help me mold myself and become a better person and perhaps a stronger person than I would have been otherwise. I know it gave me a great work ethic. I started working at about 10, 11 years old, picking cotton. And I lived in Brinkley, Clarendon, West Helena, and Wynn. All of those are in the Delta, and all of them had cotton fields around them. And so that's where I started learning to work. And then when I got to Brinkley, I was able to get a job with a great Italian guy there by the name of Johnny Therese, who I worked for from that time. That would have been my sophomore year of high school until I went on to college, and I'd still come back and work for him some.
I'm amazed.
He got the work ethic.
I'm amazed how many successful people I've interviewed have picked cotton.
It was part of the background then, and I had a lot of friends that I picked with. A lot of them just good old country boys. A lot of them had farms, and that was a way of life. It was before cotton, all the machinery that they use now, and I chopped cotton and then picked cotton. So I did both, and they helped me a lot in terms of just money that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Am I right in saying that children are not allowed to work till they're 14? I mean, would there have been some laws you would be breaking today child labor laws if you worked at 12 today?
There may have been. I mean, there may be now, but there was certainly nothing then. In fact,
I know there was nothing then.
It was all encouragement back then. They were trying to get workers.
Do you think that hurts kids today? I mean, you don't get to go to work till you're 16 years old, or?
I think if you had the right work environment and the guaranteed type of work, it could be a great asset to them. It could help them build themselves. If they got into the wrong environment too early where they didn't or weren't educated enough or grown enough to make right decisions, it could be bad. But yes, I think working at an early age is great. And they can still do things like be a paper boy, which many of them did up through the years. Of course, you can't
do that anymore.
You've had that change now.
No, my husband did that. Yeah, everybody did that.
Many of my friends did it. I mean, we all talk about what we did. Well, that's what many of them did early.
My son, who's now 26, when he was 16 and could drive, he got a job as a busboy at a restaurant. And I said, having worked in a restaurant myself, I said, you absolutely cannot work in a restaurant. I know what goes on out in the back behind the restaurant. You cannot work there. So the next thing you know, he's got a job.
He turned out fine.
He did turn out fine, but all you got to do if you want your kids to work is tell them they can't. And they'll go do it then.
But it gave him a job, and I bet it helped him turn out the way he is today.
He's got a great work ethic. You're exactly right. All right, let's talk about you going to college. So you got a scholarship to college to run track.
They had work scholarships back at that time, so I got a job. One of the plum jobs was in the student union, where you work behind the counter, the soda counter. So I got to do that for 3 years, and then I went to work doing some stuff for the state of Arkansas at night my senior year. But for 3 years, I got to work, and that's what really enabled me to become president of the student body and all that, because I got to know everybody in the student body working there every day. So it helped me immensely. It helped me pay for my education. It was one of the better jobs you could have, and as long as all of us in that student center at that time, all of us ran track or did something in track.
What'd your mother do for a living after your father left?
My mother counted more on my older sister and me for a living, because she didn't...
So you were sending money back to your mother?
Yeah, of course. And my older sister really did. She lived with her and really helped her through the trying times of life. So we were fortunate to be able. And then my other sisters got old enough. We all contributed and made sure that our mother didn't hurt for anything the rest of her life. She didn't live but till about 66, 67. So.
Mm-hmm. So how long was it before you decided, after leaving ARCLA, going into the law profession, how long was it before you said, I think I'm going to try politics?
Well, I actually been involved in politics during my ARCLA years. You had to be. You had to get along with the legislature. You had to get along with the sitting governor and senators. United States senators and congressmen. So I had a good base of friendships there that I always knew that when I wanted to do something else, I would run for governor. Never wanted to be anything else. Would not have run for anything that took me to Washington. Would not have run for a state senator and anything else. And the people would either elect me or not for the governorship.
Well, you had children, didn't you?
I did.
And how old were they probably about then?
Oldest one at the time was about 16, 17.
Yeah, that's not a good time to be moving them.
10, it had been terrible. It would have been terrible. But what I did was I worked hard at ARCLA during the day, but I also did a lot of hard work in the other part of the day when I wasn't at ARCLA and at night. I did a lot of fundraising for a lot of good causes. My wife was very good at that and helped me in from different levels of that. We tied in with various groups that were awfully good, and later in life it became Easter Seals and Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame and something like that. I've raised a lot of money for, but we did that sort of thing in addition to our other. So it was very natural for me. I left ARCLA December 31st of 1984, joined the law firm the next day or 2 days later, and then I started.
Don't want to rest.
Started building toward running for governor. I mean, that was on my mind. The lawyers did when I went into the firm.
Oh, okay.
Didn't start openly, just started making speeches around the state, started continuing to work for good causes, doing things that would just get my name a little more out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did.
It's out there.
Until the time I ran in 1990. I picked two easy ones to run against. That was my
yeah, right.
Bill Clinton and Jim Guy Tucker, two of the best ever in the state of Arkansas, and really among the best in the country. So the timing was not right. And, when you think about it, today is exactly the opposite of what it was back then. Back then, the Democrats owned everything. They owned just about every office. Now the Republicans own that. You had that turnaround, and I think Asa and I contributed to the turnaround because after we both got beaten in 1990, we decided to grow a Republican Party in Arkansas. It had kind of fallen back.
So let's tell the listeners, though, that you were a Democrat.
That's right.
And when you decided that you wanted to run for the governorship, the slot was filled by Bill Clinton.
Well, that wasn't the reason, though. Let me tell you, went a little further back than that. I actually started converting when Ronald Reagan ran for president. So that had to be 1980. Jimmy Carter had gotten the country in bad shape. I just felt we had to have a change, and I thought Reagan was a great answer to it. And I started changing at that time. I never had to say what I really was. The only time I'd ever declared what I was when I was about 21, 22 years old and ran for president of the Young Democrats. But that didn't make any difference. The real decision making.
Were you the president of the Young Democrats?
No, we got beaten. I got beaten in a deal involving Jim McDougal and Sam Boyce.
Oh, Lord, all those names.
And
you were in everywhere.
Let me correct the Young Democrats. It's actually State Democrat Party at the time.
Oh, yes.
But I was in my early 20s. From that time forward, the only time I ever had to raise my head about what party I was in was when I ran for office. It had nothing to do with being afraid of Clinton because I knew that I'd have to face him either directly or indirectly. Yeah. So that didn't make my mind up.
Mm-hmm. But you couldn't have beat him in the primary. He was already the governor. He was going to run again. So now you've changed parties and you're going to run again. Who did you run against?
Tommy Robinson. But you may not remember, I didn't have Clinton face me when I announced for governor. Clinton had said he wasn't running. He had already announced he would not be running for governor.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And I got in, but that didn't have a thing to do with my getting in or out. Didn't have anything. I felt that he would run. His reason for coming back is he wanted to save the state from Tommy Robinson. That was the reason he announced that he'd go again as a Democrat. And
well, for people that don't know, Tommy Robinson was the Donald Trump of Arkansas. When you say he was gun-toting, straight shooting, straight talking, I mean, for people that don't remember who Tommy Robinson is, do you think that's a pretty good description of people loved him? He was so popular.
He really was. And, that's who I had to face. And so I had to announce against the guy who had been announced by the president in the Rose Garden that he's going to come back here and run for governor of Arkansas. So that's what I had to face when I went into the Republican primary. So I don't know that I went up to anybody. I really would have been better staying on the Democrat side. But
you would have been.
But where I belong was Republican. That's what my thoughts were. That's what where my heart was, and that's what I did.
So how did you beat Tommy Robinson, who was so hugely popular? I mean, I remember my dad loved him.
People offer different ideas on it. Some will say, well, I picked a lot of Democrat votes up. I don't think I picked up any Democrats. They stayed over in their own primary. I think I beat Tommy on the basis of getting in and working hard. I think that a lot of people didn't know Tommy as well as he is known here in Pulaski County.
Oh.
And I beat him out in the state. And I still beat him here in this county, too.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a close race. We ran a good race, 4 or 5 points difference. And I think I beat him maybe 54 to 46.
I just realized we have talked for 45 minutes. We've got so much to cover. I had no idea that I just looked at the clock. We've got to get going here.
I'm sorry. I probably kept you talking on something.
No, it's just fascinating. I could talk to you for 2 hours. So, Bill Clinton, you lost to Bill Clinton. Then Bill Clinton gets elected president. He resigns from being governor. Jim Guy Tucker, I think, is the attorney general.
No,
maybe?
he's lieutenant governor.
Lieutenant governor, that's right. And he becomes the governor. You decide to run again.
Well, I made up my mind to run. I didn't have intentions of running at that time, but things had shaped up where it's very clear from the outside special counsel that Jim Guy was going to be indicted. I mean, I had no question, and that was just the way it was going to be because of what they had him pegged with. And I said at the time, that's why I was running.
You knew?
I did not want to have run the first time and fought somebody like Clinton and come back and let somebody else come in and inherit an office that was going to be vacated. And had they stuck with that prosecutor at that time, Jim Guy would have had to leave the office earlier than he did. They changed special prosecutors. That guy came in and started it over from zero.
Uh-huh.
And then Tucker, of course, was reelected easily. And Tucker then was faced having to leave the office, which happened.
You should have run for lieutenant governor on the Democratic Party.
No, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have done it for anything because a good friend of mine was running over on the other side, and that was Mike Huckabee. Mike was running for lieutenant governor as a Republican. And a good friend of mine. I mean, we have been years. I'd backed him strongly. And
who did become the governor after Jim Guy?
Mike Huckabee did.
Is that right? Was he the lieutenant governor? And so when Jim Guy resigned, he became?
When he resigned, they had a special election. Mike Huckabee took on a state senator from down here at Benton, and he won the election. And then Huckabee did not lose the election from then on. He won the governorship and re-won it.
And you were appointed, and Huckabee appointed you to the Arkansas Game and Fish?
He appointed me to the Game and Fish, and I think he may have given me my first appointment to the Board of Higher Education. I was on both, and I know that I was appointed through the years by various ones.
So even though you weren't elected, you were appointed to lots of positions.
I was very fortunate. I had good friends as governors and good friends.
You were recently by Asa Hutchinson appointed to something.
He put me on the board of the University of Arkansas.
I know you've got an opinion about this. What's Arkansas doing right, and what could Arkansas improve on right now?
My opinion is that Asa Hutchinson is one of the best governors we've had. And
he sure did good with COVID, didn't he?
I think he's driving us right down the road right.
Mm-hmm.
He did it with COVID, and he's staying right on top of it. It's something he's spent an immense amount of time. I think he's done a great job for the state. But I think he's been an equally good governor if you take that out of the equation. I think he's handled virtually everything about as well as a governor can handle. I'm real pleased for him and proud of him. I'm just pleased that he's had the chance to show Arkansas 5 years now and has 3 more years to show him what he can do.
Is Sarah Huckabee going to run next year?
I don't know. Next time? I think Sarah will look at it. She's got the attorney general who will look at it very carefully. She's got the lieutenant governor who will look at it very carefully.
Sounds just like a politician, doesn't he?
I think in theory that all 3 of them could be in the race. I do think if they're really, really smart, they'll make some kind of deal to get one to run for something else and get it down to 2. And have a good full-fledged fight because you'd have a good governor any of those 3.
I'm excited to see what that race is going to be like.
Me too. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for coming on today. Gosh, I've enjoyed talking to you. You and I could talk a long time. I think we have a lot to say. And your gift for coming on is a desk set of the U.S. flag and the Arkansas flag. Do you have a desk set?
It's going to go right behind my seat on my desk behind me.
I bet you don't even have one, do you?
I don't.
I'm amazed
how
many
people. You just took care of me. I've had an Arkansas flag. I've had a U.S. flag.
Probably a big one.
We fly the U.S. flag at our home and on holidays and all that. But no, I've never had anything that'll be right behind me. That will be.
Yep, you'll like it.
Carrie, thank you. I've enjoyed this. I look forward to getting to visit with you, and I admire your background, and you've been a great entrepreneur.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Gray, who's coming up next week? We've got kind of a cool guest next week, too.
We do. Actress and, can I say movie star?
Yeah, you can.
Movie star, Joey Lauren Adams. She'll be on next week.
I've been trying to get her on for 2 years. She's sheltering in place in Arkansas right now. And so, because she's from North Little Rock, and so she'll be here next week. I'm really excited about that. To our listeners, I'd like to say in closing, thank you for spending time with us. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. I'm Carrie McCoy, and I'll see you next time on Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the picture of Carrie's face in the center of the screen. To watch the full-length interview, click the video in the top right. For more interview highlights, click the video in the bottom right. Thank you for watching.